What you have here is called a Gutta-percha cover. Gutta-percha is a material that has leather as well as cardboard to keep it together, and Gutta-percha was used for daguerreotypes and ambrotypes and tintypes, those early photographs in the middle part of the 19th century. So some books are used that way too. That's the example here. The Gutta-percha case is quite large. You'd have a 1/6, right? So think of a sheet of paper, and then they cut it into sixes. 6 pieces, that's a 1/6, one of them. You could have a half or a quarter as well. So you have a relatively large binding for this particular book. And as I said, these books are small for a couple of reasons. They're small so they can be portable, taken with you when you're on, the car or in the carriage or you're traveling from place to place. Also, Gutta-percha is popular because it is durable as opposed to having a cover that is only cloth. Okay? So the case has some value, the book has some value, the condition of the book is poor. So in good condition, this book is worth about $200. In this condition, this book is worth about $125. Still nice, but the Gutta-percha case is probably worth $50 of that $125. Not bad. So someone would say to me, well, Dr. Lori, should she rebind it? Should she take this and should she actually get a new binding on it since the book is falling apart? I would say that in terms of increasing value, you probably will increase value minimally, only a little bit, if you rebound it, but you would protect the piece for future generations if it was one of those books that, oh, Grandma loved this story kind of thing. It's up to you. Nice, really nice. Good for you. This is the White House Cookbook. This is the White House Cookbook. And they are very desirable. I've talked about these before on my YouTube channel. If you're not watching the YouTube channel, I'm trying to teach you all the things that are valuable in those thrift stores. How many of you are watching the YouTube channel? Are you learning from it? Is it helpful? I hope so. So this one is in very, very, very poor condition, but it is the original White House Cookbook from 1899. So in good condition, this cookbook goes for about $400, $500. In this condition, about $90. That's poor condition and still $90. You could restore it, you'd have to have it rebound. It might cost you as much as $250 to have it rebound. How come you brought this today? Why this book?
We have a set of them, but we've always wanted to know what the value of them was. An older friend of mine gave them to me when he died, or just before he died.
That was nice.
Yes.
So it's a series of pen and pencil sketches of the lives of more than 200 of the most prominent personages in history. This is volume 7.
Yes.
You have other volumes. Here's Petrarch. We all remember Petrarch. You're all going, no, I don't. I do. I had to teach this junk. Here's John Milton. You remember him? Oh, boy, you got a whole lot of guys here. What's volume 1? Sir Walter Scott, yeah. Right? From Edinburgh, wrote the Waverley novels. Now she's taken out more. She's showing me, proving to me that they have all of them. How many volumes do you have?
2.
Just 3?
3.
I've got volume 7. Do you have a lucky number? Could you guess my lucky number?
No.
My lucky number's 4. It's always been 4. I have no idea why, it just is.
We have 6 and 8.
6 and 8 and 7. That's good. You have sequence. You want to have them all. The one in my hand, $15. The one in your hand, $15. The other one that's damaged, less than $15. You getting the idea?
Yeah.
Okay. What are you looking for in an old book? You're looking for, this is gilded. Cover's gilded. That increases value. Spine is in good shape. This area also gilded all the way around, also more valuable, right? And then anytime you have a excessive number of the images, right, the prints, they are more valuable too. This sheet of paper should not be torn out, but it is acidic because they don't have acid-free. Here's another one here. And you see the brown, this brown area here on this book? That's when this lies down next to it and it actually off-gasses or tans, which is a bad word in art and antiques, tans the pages. So these are trying to protect the piece when actually it damages the piece. Very common in early 20th century books. Okay? Charles Dickens, a gossip about his life, works, and character. Hey, look at that. It's nice print. Water damage, right? In certain areas. So how do you make money out of this? You bought this out in an estate sale, and other than you say, oh, I really want to have this for my life, how could you actually say, well, I want to make some money out of this? You'd have to take each print out and reframe them individually, hiding all the water damage. Do people do that? Oh yeah, people do that. Once you get underneath the mat and out of the frame, all of a sudden you realize, well, these are water damaged. They're very nice prints. They are engravings, and they relate to his stories. This piece is a piece of acid tissue paper. You see the brown at the bottom? The acid tissue paper from the 1930s, pretty typical. That's what this is. Put that right there. I'll put it back in a minute. So you got this book at an estate sale, and it looked like this from the front. If the book looks like this from the front, why do you want it?
It had a sticker of $800 and I got it for $3.
It had a sticker of $800 and you got it for $3.
Yeah.
Well, that would be a reason. I mean, right? Don't you think? That's a good reason. So they want $800 and you got it for $3. Why do you think it went down to $3?
Nobody wanted it?
I don't know if nobody wanted it. I think probably the sticker at $800 was before it took a dip in the pool, you know, or decided to. And see, there's the acid paper. See that brown? These papers are put in to protect the engraving, but see, over time, the individual engravings are probably worth $40 a piece if you cut them out of the book. I'm not advocating cutting books. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is this particular book, if it were in perfect condition, is probably worth about $250. The individual pieces, which people would frame up as works of art because they are, probably worth about that. Not bad. If you want to keep it as a book, just the way it is, you know, you're going to lose all of this if you did anything else with it. So you're probably looking around that neck of the woods. Right? You got it?
Can it be restored?
It can be restored. Binding for a book like that, with all the gilt work, probably I would say restoration might cost you $400. It's a lot for your investment and for what you might get out of it, unless you're just a, you know, Charles Dickens-ophile and you've got to read more about Dickens. Thank you for your patience with that. Sebastian Melmoth by Oscar Wilde, 1911. And what's interesting about this is it says it's a shaker press book that's finally made by hand. Oh goodness, okay. This person is talking about how he made shaker press binds, blah, 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 blah. Okay. He made producing small editions of attractive, useful books in his studio where he's been repairing old books. So you think he made the box, and you think that the book itself is from 1911. How do you know that? Okay, so the book says 1911. Couldn't you take a piece of paper from 2020 and stamp 1911 in it? You could. Why do you know that? What did you say? It's bound in the book. Well, couldn't they take all these pages and make them now and just reproduce the book? Sure. So how do you know that it's from 1911? I know how I know it's from 1911, but how do you know? Okay, so you don't know. Okay, well, that's fine to say you don't know. Here's how you know. First of all, some of the things that you don't typically see in a reproduction book. I think that they, in fact, made the case, as you said, the book case. This particular book, this in my hand, this back cover is circa 1911. You'll notice the coloration here on the title is what we typically see in early 20th century printmaking, but the telltale sign, the paper. Striations or stripes on the paper are not the type of paper that's used today, not the type of paper that's used in 1950. The striations that you sometimes can see if you move the paper, it's not a watermark on a paper, but it's actually how the paper itself is made. The color of the paper is also very, very white. We typically don't see that in later 20th century books. And if you'll notice, there's the same areas of that coloration as you go page by page. So I think this is made by the shaker press people, right, who are trying to just give you, he's a bookmaker who creates these for money to make sure your old books are protected. And this particular piece was a book someone owned, asked the people in Indianapolis at Shaker Press Books to make them a actual slipcase or slipcase cover for it. This particular book has a market value of about $300. This is custom made in Indianapolis, probably in the 1980s or 90s, and probably valued about $60 to $75 just to make this part. Okay? But what you got at the thrift store was the new protective cover and the book that they were trying to protect. How much did you pay at the thrift store for the book that's worth about $300? $1.50, which is $374 more, right? That's pretty darn good. Why did you pick it up? Because you didn't know it was from 1911. Because you can't always believe that front cover. I wish it were a more famous story by Oscar Wilde, right? One that you would have recognized, but that's a beautiful piece. And not for anything, but you know, you got the box too. Pretty nice. Very nice. I don't like, of course, and have taken into consideration that both these covers have come away from the book. If they hadn't, we'd be talking $400. So you got to have the cover, both covers, attached to the book. That helps with value. So you brought it to a dealer and asked them what they would pay you for it, and they said $9. Right. Well, why are you going to dealers when you need an appraiser? Well, why? Just answer that question. You know you were wrong. What do you mean you don't know what to do with it? I'm everywhere. She doesn't know what to do with it. I don't know who to ask, Dr. Lori. Oh, yeah. You know. Now you do. But, yeah, $9 is not that you're asking the worth. What you're asking is, how much will you purchase it from me for? Right? Right? They're not telling you what is it really worth, what can they get out of it. So they were standing to make a lot of money off of you. Right? And most people aren't any the wiser. Thank you, though, for bringing it, honey. Thank you for bringing it. You get feelings? Ooh, I have a feeling. Like when you're going to vomit. That kind of feeling? Do you get those feelings? Like all of a sudden you're like, oh, I shouldn't have eaten those chicken wings with all of that stuff on it. They said it would be good. Jalapeno poppers and all this stuff that you're looking at. You're like, nachos, you know, all that stuff. And you're like, I shouldn't eat that. That kind of feeling? Or is it just like, does it radiate towards you? It's pronouncing parallel Bible. So it's parallel. Goes one way and the other way? Is that what it does? That's what it says over here. You don't want to damage it any more than it's damaged. You figured we don't want to really ruin it. Because it's, you know, on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being ruined, it's like a 9.95. It's pretty bad. See this? Pretty bad. See this? Not so good. It's very brown. Pretty damaged. The spine's coming apart. Here's some water for good measure. Water stains. I don't know. Oh my gosh. Here's a whole hunk of it. Darling. But you know what this teaches you? It teaches you how they make books. See this? It's not good. No bugs though. I'm happy there's no bugs. No, because when there's bugs, oh my gosh, what you have to do if there's bugs. Old books, be careful of bugs. So it's the Bible, God bless us all. It's early, you know, 19th century. Oh, yikes. I don't know if you have to really carry it back out. It's probably going to take a load off. When I tell you in this condition, it's probably worth about $5. What did you pay? Where did you save it from? Was it like a rescue animal? You're like, I gotta save it? Kind of. It was just like a thing that you're like, okay. People like to collect Bibles. That one's in such bad shape though. But it is 19th century, it is quite old. I'd say 5. I might be convinced at 15. Preface to the second edition of the Scarlet Letter. Well, that's not a good way to start. You don't want the second edition. You want the original first edition. It's in pretty good shape. dates to about, this edition dates to about 1910. Value on this particular book, anywhere between $10 and $15. You've got broken spine. You do have a decorated cover, which is good. And you can see that this has been near water. You see how it comes out like this? Water damage. But for finding it in the house, right? Free is free.